You saw Tua there yesterday, and clearly this indicates to me he intends to play again this season. It indicates to me if he's cleared to actually hop on a flight for 6+ hours and is going to be there, and is there. It's not just because he wants to be a great teammate. It's because he's able to do it, right? Of course, he wants to go if he can. He can do it. He's cleared to actually take a 6-hour flight after all that. Okay, so. They got a home date against Tennessee. By the way, this is a revenge game for Miami as far as I'm concerned. Them slipping up in this game led to them, in part, playing in sub-zero weather in the playoffs.
Yeah. No doubt.
Okay? And they blew that one. That was the one that Will Levis suddenly...
Dude, they were up 14 with like 4 minutes to go and lost.
Right. And then they're at New England before a bye, at Indianapolis after that, and I believe that's when they can get Tua back. He's got to miss 4. I mean, obviously you got to be concerned for Miami's season, but it's still early.
Mike McDaniel, a whole bunch of people were looking to join that class action suit with Brian Flores yesterday.
I mean, it is interesting that the Mike McDaniel thing, I'm not turning on him, but... he gets compared to Kyle Shanahan. Whenever Kyle Shanahan has lost his quarterback, the next quarterback comes in, and you're amazed that, wow, this offense still kind of seems to run. Without Tua, the Mike McDaniel offense, maybe they've just had really bad quarterbacks. Maybe C.J. Beathard, who Kyle Shanahan has had, is better. I don't know. For the Mike McDaniel genius, we got to see a little bit more. I get it. You need the quarterback. But show me a little bit more with the backup quarterback.
We are not at the point that we're longing for C.J. Beathard.
No, I'm just saying.
That's not what this is supposed to be.
If this offense is such a well-oiled machine, if McDaniel's running that Kyle Shanahan offense, why does that offense look better with backup quarterbacks
it's
than
gonna
this one
turn.
does?
It's turning already. It's turning. That's it.
But
it's
this
week
is a
3.
construction
It's done.
problem. I don't.
Well, you're always going to have people that are trying to stop you from scoring touchdowns, and I think there's been a lot of points that we've left on the board when we've gotten closer to there. I think there's first and foremost, I'm always evaluating the decisions, and when stuff doesn't work, generally it's hard for me to be like, I'm absolved of all responsibility. So there's some directions that had I known X, Y, or Z, I would have done differently. And then I think there's also the one of the pieces that I think is supremely important. That this being the first time that I think since I've been here we're below 500, and it feels way too long as it is. I think the big thing as a team, in this case of your question, the offense, is that you have across the board accountability. And the hard thing is when you very much dislike the results, for you to go above and beyond to say, okay, well, how is that my fault?
Well, another road game, another huge loss for Miami Dolphins for the third time this season. The team has looked unprepared, undisciplined, and outcoached. While the contractual bill of the team is very much in question and Tua not playing are reasons for the team not being at its best, the Dolphins have more than enough talent, if you ask me, not to be embarrassing at least. Penalties, bad matchups, questionable play calling has been the norm during the first 3 games of the season. The Mike McDaniel era is probably on the borderline. Steve, is Mike McDaniel having too much faith on the players' accountability hurting his team?
That's a really funny thing you just said there. The word accountability. And I think because I'm very, very bored and I have a ton of time on my hands, I want to go back and watch that and just count how many times the word accountability gets thrown out there. So much so, it's a word that I use all the time. I'm a parent, and I'm always trying to drive my children to be accountable, to have integrity, to own up to their actions and how it plays out in their lives. You're not just a participant or bystander, that stuff happens to you. So the definition, the quality or state of being accountable, an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions. I'm really curious. What is, and I'm being honest here, I'll throw this out to anybody here, raise your hand. who on this team is showing that level of ownership over their actions to the point that it is making a difference in their play? One of you, please. Jason, go.
Zach Sealer.
Oh, good. Okay. All right.
Calais Campbell.
That, and
Yeah,
that's
fair enough.
and maybe you can get away with Jordan Brooks and or David Long, and I think that's where the list ends.
Oh yeah.
Jalen Ramsey.
So we're on the.
I'm gonna say it, Jalen Ramsey.
They're mostly on defense.
Okay, no, the whole side is defense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alec Ingold, but I mean, he's had a few bonehead plays. Well, actually, Austin Jackson. I mean, he got hurt, comes right back in 2 days later. 2 plays later, it was like that was one thing where it kind of felt like everything was falling apart. I feel like there have been teams where that Dolphins line, you got Patrick Paw out there, Kendall Lamb's jumping to 4 different positions. I'll give Austin Jackson a little nod there.
Okay, so I mean, but what we're seeing here, that's
grasping for straws.
Frankly, I feel like that's what we see on almost every team is, you know what, the players want to be out there. They're limping, they're hurting, they have to be dragged off the field to be like, no, you're not going back in there. And then they're pissed off on the sidelines with their helmet on, still waiting to go back in. From a week-over-week standpoint, so let's dial this back to the topic. Head coach McDaniel, and to your point, Sammy, I don't know if the media was being easy on Miami because I didn't go into the office yesterday, so I didn't tune it in. And today I had the benefit of when I did listen in on Sports Talk Radio, they were absolutely beating the hell out of the Jacksonville Jaguars for the atrocity of last night. So Miami was off the hook.
Off the hook.
So, but
basically that's it, yes. Mm-hmm.
So here's the problem. If it's like WWE, we have some WWE fans around here. Even if you're a heel, it means that you're still popular and you're still selling. You're bringing asses in the seats. If the media isn't finally talking about Miami, trying to talk down all the reasons why they're not as great as they seem to be, then maybe it's a problem. But I'm not worried about what the media says. I can't be into it when they're praising us. I just frankly don't care what all of them have to say. But I personally feel like, you know, I made a little moniker that didn't stick anywhere other than in my own head of calling McDaniel the Kingpin because, you know, how he dresses, his style. He's got that Miami vibe about him. Mm-hmm. And I think I crowned him too soon because I'm waiting for the genius to show up. I'm waiting for these teams to really just start to resonate on a week-over-week basis and understand what's going on. But he has to be the pillar of accountability. He has to be that. If he is really, truly following the definition of the word accountability, then he is stepping back and saying, what I am doing, what I did there didn't work. I didn't take the Jason Sarney blueprint that the Patriots left with the Seahawks and change my approach. I'm going to double down. I'm going to triple down, quadruple down on what, you know, the 3rd and 1 or 2nd and 1, whatever it is, and pitch it back to the 6-yard line and then have our guy absolutely get murdered. So I don't know. I think I'm just so tired of the word accountability because I don't see it in terms of the results. You're right, on an individual basis, there are players that are stepping up and doing what they need to do, but it's the head coach's responsibility to set that tone for the team, and I don't think he's doing it. I mean, anybody else have a counterpoint to that? Matt, you're my counterpoint. I want to ask you, give me a counterpoint to this.
Well, you're not around the team. You only see what you see on CBS or on Fox when they're on TV. You only hear what the media wants you to hear. And that's not me saying the media sucks. The media does suck, but that's not me dumping on the media. We're not there. I understand what you're saying about accountability. And I also understand that you're wanting him to say what you want him to say, but we're not there. We're not there to hear him talk to his team. He's a different guy. The whole world knows he's a different guy. And his leadership style differs drastically from what mine is, from what yours is. But I'm going to end this little bit for me by saying this. This team is 2-1 if number 1 is not injured. And we're not having these conversations. We're not. And you know what? The media is not dogging on them today when you log into the radio to listen. They're dogging on Jacksonville because Jacksonville's got a number 1 pick playing like Brock Purdy should be playing as the last pick in the draft. They are murdering Jacksonville because, believe it or not, Jacksonville has what the Dolphins have. They've got a team. They're not playing. You want to talk about accountability? Let's talk to Jacksonville's head coach. What the hell are you doing?
7-8 game slide?
I got some accountability for you guys.
All right, Jake, bring it.
7 false starts. 6 illegal formation penalties.
Sure.
Illegal shift. Illegal motion. Julian Hill alone. What kind of accountability is that?
What the hell is a Julian Hill?
He has more penalty yards than receiving yards.
Durham Smythe dropped a touchdown. Julian Hill's penalties. We saw Tanner Connor's butt, and we just don't want to get Julian Hill involved. I mean, it's insane. It's insane to me.
How many penalties did the Seahawks have?
The crazy part is both teams had 11.
Yeah.
The issue, though, is
I don't care what they do. I'm going to tell you what I tell my kids when I'm having this accountability conversation, Matt. I don't care what my neighbor's kid is doing.
I like that.
Missing the point.
But also, my numbers for the entire season, I think 7 false starts and 6 illegal formation penalties are completely unacceptable. Especially when you have like
I agree with that.
And let me add something to that. The accountability has to be on Mike McDaniel to look at, like, we saw a game a couple of years ago in LA against the Chargers where he literally looked at a defensive coordinator and said, "Fix it," pretty much. We pretty much saw that. Let me tell you something. He couldn't say that to Anthony Weaver when he stopped 3 out of 11. 3 out of 11, the Seahawks went on third down conversions. They gave him every opportunity to say, you know what? All right, I called this play in Cleveland with Johnny Manziel. Where's anything? Remember that? Was that Kyle Shanahan and this Mike McDaniel was just like, what's going on? Or was that McDaniel? Is that the right play? Am I remembering the right play when Johnny Manziel faked that he was running in the huddle and then he was a wide receiver and he ran out? Don't do that with Tua or with me. But something like that, something ingenious, inventive, and it didn't happen. But the point is the accountability on Mike to not fix it when he has previously asked that to happen on a coordinator when the offense is clicking. Another huge stat. The Dolphins, are 25th in the NFL in rushing. They were first last year.
Thank you
and
for
you
saying
drafted
that.
another running back. You drafted the running back, in my mind, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, the way I see it. Raheem Mostert's successor is not Achane, because Achane's Achane. He's the guy. Raheem's successor was Wright.
Right.
So if you have Raheem out and Wright in, I want to see 12 carries from Wright and 17 touches from Achane, 5 from Wilson, and look at what you have. You're at where you want to be with this group. Without Mostert, but you got the heir apparent. Tennessee runner, you drafted, you traded draft capital for him. He should be thrown into the fire. All these rookies are playing and succeeding. Not all of them, obviously, but, you're not letting these guys throw them out there. Give them the chance. Again, 8.5 yards per carry, 2 carries, and then that's it. And you're only down 10, 7. You're in it. I don't care about needing to throw if you're down 2 touchdowns. You can get 5.2, which they averaged last year, yards on the ground with virtually the same personnel.
Basically
2 plays, first down. 2 plays, first down.
It's easy. And then when that's established and everyone thinks that they're going to run up the middle on 3rd and 1, what do, Steve?
Jonnu Smith.
Yes, play action, pass, something. But when everyone is now thinking that, because that was the trend that was succeeding, maybe you can catch a break and get a 50-yard big chunk play, which they're not doing as much as they did last year.
Did they even go long? On Sunday?
They tried with 2 back-to-back plays that didn't turn out at the end of the first half.
Right, you're talking about the end. Those don't exist.
No,
those plays don't exist. But beyond that, when did we ever try and go 20 plus? We didn't.
Not even on a Hail Mary.
Right. The one where everybody expects you to, you didn't even take that shot.
So Adrian, I mean, in terms of accountability, since I'm the one that brought that whole topic around, what would you need to see, let's say next week? I mean, McDaniel had 23 minutes in front of the mic today. I want to hammer that point later on, not right now. What do you want? What do you think needs to happen?
I think he need to run the ball consistently. Like, he keeps saying accountability, but who's holding him accountable for these play calls?
He's the one
Is
calling
is
the
it gonna
play.
be these? Is it gonna be these big money players? You know, these Tyreek and Waddle not telling him to run the ball. They want they want all the touches they can get. They're making 30 million a year. So it's like, who is gonna get into his head and have him? We have to become a downhill running team. Like we have this big back, Jalen Wright. Achane is doing his thing. You know, you got him in the slot. You throwing it to him out the backfield, screens and such. He could still run up the middle. It's just like, when are we going to see it consistently? It's crazy that he always talk about accountability. That's my only like pet peeve with him, because I feel like he a good coach. You know, this is the first time we're under 500 with him. But what's going on with when you see the same thing over and over again? And then he keeps preaching accountability. When's somebody gonna hold him accountable to what he's doing?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't get it at all.
Very good, really good point, because today during the press conference, and this, I said I wasn't going to go to it. I know I'm going to get pulled into it and open it up to everybody, but he said he would give up play calling in a heartbeat if it gave the team a better chance to win. But he doesn't see anybody else that's capable of doing what that. I was driving and I almost hit a pillar at that point. I was in an underpass and I was like, oh my God, just end it now.
That was a really interesting quote.
Just him, right?
That was a really interesting quote.
Well, you got Daryl Bevels on the coaching staff.
Daryl Bevels has more experience calling plays than he has. He's a first-time play caller. He wasn't even the play caller in San Francisco. So you cannot tell me Daryl Bevels doesn't have more experience in calling plays than he does.
What I worry about McDaniel is when there's a lot of things going on. I think that there is almost a too much, almost like you can't concentrate, like an ADD aspect of like, do I call a timeout? Do I look at the clock? Oh my God, 5 seconds left in the huddle, timeout. It's the second quarter. And like, you need to come up with things that can make life easier for your players. You have to call plays that can make life easier for your players. Put the right people in position.
He has an assistant head coach.
Right.
So,
no, but you're right. Like but it's almost like this. It's like you can name the people this, but if a job isn't working for someone, I believe it's the head coach's opportunity to say, do we need to make a change at the person doing the job? Do I have to take it over? And he has to ask himself that, which he kind of did. But then he's saying that no one can. But he literally just told us that he thinks that he would give it up if someone could, which subliminally, and he's a guy who says a lot of subliminal stuff.
Yes.
I don't have confidence in himself as he was 2 years ago.
How high do we truly see this as being an issue for the Miami Dolphins? Because there are points throughout every game where we can highlight or right over it. Yes, the Miami Dolphins should have ran in this scenario. Sunday against the Seahawks, they ran 28 plays in the first half. 20 were designed pass plays. We can all agree that's unacceptable. The game ended with 32 pass attempts and 18 carries. It needs to change, but I think we're blowing it a little bit out of proportion because there's so much involved. This is a team that has not had the lead for a single minute since the NFL season started. This is a team that, Steve, we were just talking about, the false start penalties, the illegal formation penalties. These are scenarios where it's much, much harder to run the football. So I want to be careful here because I'm not saying that they're calling the correct amount of pass. They need to run the football more, but I do think there's an added layer of context where there have been some issues that this team has put themselves in where, okay, we have a backup quarterback and we have to throw the football. We're just setting ourselves up for failure. I think that's another issue that goes back to Mike McDaniel. How much longer can you keep someone like Julian Hill on the field? How much longer can we accept these penalties? Because these penalties hurt just as much when you're trying to establish the run. And you need your 4 yards per carry. Otherwise, you're just going to be behind the sticks.
I agree in theory about the running discrepancy. Now, in the third, fourth quarter, when time is really the most precious, I get it. You're down 2 possessions. Your hands are tied. But if you're down 2 possessions or 1 possession, it's the second. And if you're lucky enough to maybe have that 2-for-1 opportunity where you can score, you have 6 minutes. You don't have to throw and worry that you need. You know what I mean? So I'm with you. But it's almost like I got killed a couple of years ago. I think last year I said, hey, the Dolphins are this and that when they run 30 times. And then everyone's like, well, duh, because they're up and they're running. Well, you know what? Why are they up? I want to go to each game and I want to look, oh, this is the game Raheem ran all over him. Oh, this was the game that Achane was given more. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's the rushes that get you there, even if you're down. Not the Denver game, clearly, but like time, and again, it's the timing of when certain things are really focused on. I'm with you. Third quarter, you're down 27-10. Screw the running. You got to throw it. What else are you going to do? But when you're first and second quarter down, don't deviate from the plan. Because if you're down even 17-0, second quarter, and you're in a twofer, I don't care if you have an 8-minute drive and you go into the locker room with a touchdown and then you come out even with a field goal, new game.
And I'll also add, let's use the Russian as a tone setter for the game instead of just coming out and chucking it everywhere, and then you letting these guys get 1 or 2 carries every 10 plays. That's
right.
that you got to use it as a tone setter, man. So the offensive line knows, hey, we came to play bully ball today. Let's go.
I said this, to go on your point, Adrian, I said this, the best thing to do to shut a home crowd up on the road is to continually pick up runs via the run. I mean, continually pick up first downs via the run. It is demoralizing. You have defensive tackles huffing and puffing, and you got fans going to get beer or going to get in their car. That's what happens.
Jake, I know you're trying to say something there.
One more stat, and again, no, I'm completely there. The Jalen Wright 2 for 17 is unacceptable. It's like the Dolphins spent 10 days getting Achane 22 yards on that first play of the game, and that was all they were practicing. But 32% of Miami Dolphins running back runs have failed to gain yardage so far this year. That's the highest rate in the league. It's just the game script has been brutal, and it's an issue because I think Miami's favorite thing to do, that Achane play was part of it. It's going deep that first drive. The Dolphins are so desperate for that early 7-0 lead that all our conversations would look so different if they just had that one lead. But until then,
True.
There's just so many ugly stats and ugly ways to look at this football team, and I think that's what makes it so damn frustrating.
Oh, so to be fair, and everybody brings up some great points here, and I'm dead guilty of constantly picking something every week and being like, that's the horse I'm going to beat. It's already dead. Matt's nodding his head because he knows it's true. Hey, I'm accountable to it, so I'm going to try to change who Steve is here, Matt, okay? I'm going to use that word. But let's say that, okay, everybody, not everybody, but there, the social media chatter out there is like, hey, Tua's out for at least 4 games. If we can escape it, those 4 games going 2-2, and Tua comes back, hey, these are the scenarios, and everybody's constantly trying to play that up. But let's say that doesn't happen. Let's say what the team that showed up with that same mentality is the one that shows up again on Monday night, and then the week after that. So at what point is McDaniel at risk of not being the, hey, oh my God, he's such a fantastic coach? Is he at risk of losing the team? I don't know. Adrian, what do you think?
If he doesn't win one game without Tua, definitely he could lose the locker room. Because I get the offense is set up for Tua, but you have to at least be able to produce some type. He's a mad genius, as they call him. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to produce on offense if somebody's gonna call you a genius, and then you come out and just, pardon my French, shit to bed every single game that you don't have Tua in. You can't do that. So I think he has to at least win 2 games. Because if he goes out and we go 0-4 or however long Tua's gone, man, I mean, the fans coming for him, definitely.
I mean, so we've given praise to the defense. Weaver has clearly brought out a different flavor, especially with the halftime adjustments and everything. But Jake, you're my stats guy. I'm not going to steal any of your thunder, but the offense isn't ranked that badly. But how many touchdowns have we scored this year?
God, what is it? 2? Is it 2? Have they got? They've reached a whopping 3.
3 touchdowns. Okay, so I mean, is McDaniel gonna? Let's say the defense. We threw out who's holding themselves. Let's not use that word. I'm not going to use the A word.
Yeah.
Who is showing up and performing, and in spite of the other side of the ball doing it, who's going to be able to step up and make that difference or that change so it doesn't appear that McDaniel's losing control of things?
Not to make you guys any more want to jump off the cliff, but in the Seahawks game, the Dolphins had 2 turnovers that they forced 2 turnovers, and one of them,
Sealer.
That both
yeah,
inside the 10?
one of them essentially
3 points.
should have been a
They
touch.
only 3 points.
Should be a touchdown.
That should have been a touchdown. That should have been momentum.
Yeah.
And then you blink, and then DK Metcalf just said,
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
That's the exact thing I was terrified about. Dolphins shit the bed. Seahawks get to an early score. DK Metcalf on a ball. I said DK Metcalf on a 75-yard touchdown. The game's over.
Listen, exactly what we thought would happen. Let me rephrase that. Exactly what I thought would happen did. Went to the Northwest, the longest road trip possible in the NFL, and you didn't perform. I'm going to go back to my original opening statement, which is you've got a QB that's been in the program for 3 years, and he looked like me out there.
Like a rookie still.
And whose fault is that? Because you have, I think Jason, you had said it. How can you roll out the same exact offense if you know the backup quarterback can't do those same exact things?
Well, looking at it in that prism of just a 3-hour Sunday afternoon makes me wonder, what the hell do you see in mini camp, in training camp, in practice during the week? What do you see? Like, I'm willing to give all of the credit to the Seahawks, their fans. They deserve that. They're well known. It's not like suddenly, holy shit, the Seahawks have a defense. They've been known for that. Legion of Boom, all that stuff, that stadium. There's a reason why people are jealous of that fan base, because they are the 12th man, right? They've got the flag flying. But Tim Boyle did better than Tim Boyle's been in the program for 3 hours, better than the guy who's been in it for 3 years.
And Mike McDaniel picked both of them, so.
Yeah.
And that's
absolutely.
right, because you have two guys who are throw-in kind of emergency guys that really didn't do it, but you need a guy who might not necessarily know the playbook. It's time to bring in Snoop Huntley and to see what he has, see what he can do.
Oh, yeah.
Because he creates an element of the unknown. He can disappear in the pocket, in and out of the pocket. He can make something happen with his feet. And that's the exact thing that has destroyed the Dolphins' defense, is quarterbacks who could, 3rd and 15.
Elusive.
I'm running it.
And now all of a sudden a linebacker has to stay in to respect that,
Right.
and it opens things up.
And then with the talent, now I'm not saying that we have Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying we have Anthony Richardson. I'm not saying we have, the second coming of Patrick Mahomes. We do not, but we have a guy who could, if need be. That might lead to turnovers. It might lead to sack fumbles. But you know what? You got nothing else. You got
compared to the mobility that we're used to here in Miami, we've got Michael Vick back there.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
We've got Randall Cunningham.
Absolutely. And when you have an Achane, and when you have Hill, and while guys who could freelance with the freelancer, now you're talking. This could be, and we're living. If you guys really think about this, I've said this a few times. This is Any Given Sunday. Think about it. Think about it.
Oh God,
this is Any Given Sunday, with so much detail on how it's actually Any Given Sunday. It's the same thing.
I saw you tweeted that. I was in my garage yesterday, and I'm like, gee, I thought that Sunday night in my anger. I'm like, good God, man, this is just straight up
Lefty starter. Out. Tyler Cherubini. Skylar Thompson. Out.
My man, it's playing out. The Miami Sharks.
Who are we turning to?
It's in your next life. You're either going to be a screenwriter or a head coach, one or the other, man. You're in good shape.
Oh, I'm at the middle of this one. When am I getting to it, man?
All right, so let's close this out real quick. I just want to go around in my window. I don't know if it looks the same for everybody else. It probably does. But Jason, Matt, Jake, Adrian, chances, let's go 0 to 10 that this team goes 1-3 over the next 4 games, that McDaniel loses the locker room and things really unravel. Jason.
50-50.
All
right, going in the middle. Matt.
Yeah, I think that number one coming back changes everything. I don't think it's 50-50. As long as one comes back and they start performing, I don't think he loses the locker room at all.
Jake.
I'm going to go with a 3. This is the oldest roster in the NFL. I don't think it's one of those scenarios. I think it's an issue where if things are a disaster, they're a disaster, but it's too early in the year.
Adrian.
I'm going to say 50-50 just because if those losses are bad or we don't win any, then there's a big chance, man. There's a real big chance. You know how the NFL is. Not for long. So if
Except in
he
Miami.
don't produce, yeah,
And
right.
I have to agree because in my opinion, I'm looking at somebody like Calais Campbell at the end of his career, admittedly took a lesser pay to come play for a team that, let's take our fanhood out of it. There were a lot of people out there saying, hey, Miami could break, but they've got a lot of talent. They could perform. I think he saw that, not just a chance to come back where he played college. And I could see him getting really frustrated where, hey, our side of the ball is holding up. Why aren't you? So I agree that it is about a 50-50. But Sammy, I don't know. Let's close this out. What do you think?
Well, you know me. I have my reservation on McDaniel, so it's rough. It's to me, it's more than 50-50. The defense is certainly doing their part. That's good and bad. That's because the defense feels like, okay, we're putting their part, but the offense is now the one who's not putting their part. That's certainly going to tear up the team. Let's go before to go to the. Yes, please.
One thing.
Please.
50-50. The reason why I said 50-50 and I love this component is because, and I'm not rooting for this, but I could see this.
Mm-hmm.
No, I won't go crazy if this happens. If the defense continues to make adjustments and puts the offense in position to win games, and we're talking like Halloween, Thanksgiving, and it's not happening, the defense and Anthony Weaver could take over. And that could be the 50-50 if you're what I'm saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying, but more than 50-50, exactly.
Right, because if that has to happen and you have a potential head coach in the waiting in Anthony Weaver, and the reason your team is in the game is because of him and his defense, and he's Dan Campbelling somewhere else in 4, 5, 6, 7 years, it's another egregious mistake. I don't want the mistake to be on the plate to maybe happen, but that's something that is in the back of my mind. This defense is continuing to adjust and do well. That should be on the table.
Here.
Absolutely. Let's go to some of the comments. We have other comments. So, Steve, let's go to some of the comments. The Dolphins fan, this team has failed to set up for success since the offseason. Hindsight is we should have signed Justin Simmons over Poyer. That's not a bad take. Of course, that was a lot more money.
A lot more.
Hubris. I've seen this term used a lot during this week. That's basically being arrogant and stubborn.
Don't call it arrogant.
That's what McDaniel is being. Bearded fanatic. We love Bearded. Thank you for joining us, Bearded. He's ready to take a victory lap on the on the last segment of the show for the Pickens show. He's just waiting for the victory lap. Much love to you too, my brother. We can't wait to see you back on the show. Hopefully, but you had. Please, Steve, read that comment from Bearded.
Definitely, he handpicked Skylar and Tim Boyle as his QB room. He can lose the locker room for sure. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Now, if you look at, playing fantasy football, and I'm like, God, I need to pick up a running back this week, and I look at what's out there available on the waiver wires, it is stark. It is a scary, scary place. I don't know who's out there. I have to stop myself from thinking that Huntley could be he is a different type of quarterback. He's not Lamar Jackson, but he played with him. He has a style. He picks up different things. God knows Skylar Thompson didn't pick anything up from Tua. So,
Yes.
But he did pick this quarterback room. It's a clear reflection of that. They opted to not get a different quarterback in the draft. I'm firmly in the camp of every single draft you get a quarterback. So, I definitely agree with Bearded there. I don't dispute it.
Thanks for watching Fins TV. Please like and subscribe.